Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And here we are in OSHA, Region 3. How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, we wanted to get on the air last night. Didn't happen. Mondays are problematic. So we're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. For whatever reason, the software we use for uploading to the internet a little bit finicky, or not liking what we're doing here. So you've gotten the audio the last couple of days. That's pretty much it. We've gotten the audio. Uploaded a couple of videos there. No, separate. But that's very cumbersome way of doing things. Anyway, so we are on still in Disaster Preparation Month, and this week is Suicide Prevention Week. So we'll be going through some of that stuff here. Also, volume up way too loud there. Keeping it down. Don't want to be like the 18-year-olds I got to deal with that their hearing's blown from wearing earbuds. So we're going to, the last section of our program is going to be pre-recorded and probably going to be a video. So, last week we played a CSV video here on an explosion in Philadelphia. Come from 2019, I think it was, where a facility was completely destroyed. It was a CSV video. So the next day, we're talking about the job site. We have some visitors and emergency responder from that accident. One of them, the incident commander, was in our office. So on the project I'm working on. So I said, yeah, I was talking about, I played the video from the CSV, blah, 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 blah. He says, oh, okay, great. And I can't talk about NDAs. Okay. That's the way it goes. We have a lot of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements here also. Now, what's going on? We have all this stuff. I'll be releasing shorter videos tomorrow on that, on suicide prevention. Again, it's a conversation we have to have out there. Because if you don't have it, and there's something happens, it's like, oh, well, what do I know? How could we have prevented this? It's a horrible situation there. I think some of you know my situation from December to January, December 2023, December 2023 to January 2024, what happened in my town. Hold on here. We got to hit pause. Sorry about that. Everybody knows I'm on the air or pre-recording, and, they call. And it's an important thing. But now, after the fact, we were talking about this at our morning huddle this morning. After the fact, you're like, oh, man, had I only known. Or, oh, had I known how to approach the person. Or, oh, I didn't realize this was a warning sign. Or, oh, I didn't know that if I brought it up, that might cause someone to do something. Right? Especially with the last thing. That normally doesn't happen with that. I'm not going to say never, because it's, never is never. I get into trouble saying that. But have these conversations. This dial 988 if you need, from your cell phone, if you need help or you need someone to talk to. Talk to someone with this. What else? Now, a lot going on in the news here with this. I don't even know where to begin here. So, here, we haven't gone over some stories here with this. So here we have, and again, disaster preparation. We'll talk about it in a minute here. Right. You got to rely on your support networks, whether they be community or national, sometimes international. So there's a lot of stuff going on in China. I'm reading from the 31st of August. China's Navy is expanding. This is from the BBC at breakneck speed and catching up with the U.S. Right? Socialism is good. A pensioner warbles into a portable karaoke mic. Slightly off key and drowned out by her friend's chatter, but they join her for the chorus. The Communist Party guides China on the path to power and wealth. It's not the catchiest karaoke number, but it's an apt one to belt out as they look towards the horizon, fame framed by cranes towering over ships of all sizes. So you want a park in Dalian, which juts out of northeastern China into the LLC, has stunning views of one of China's largest shipyards, and is a place to gather to be merry. But to the White House analysts thousands of miles away in Washington, this cradle of Chinese shipbuilding is part of a growing threat. In the last 2 days, China has ramped up investment in shipbuilding, and that has paid off. More than 60% of the world's orders this year have gone through Chinese shipyards. Put simply, China is building more ships than any other country because it can do it faster than anyone else. The scale is extraordinary, in many ways eye-watering, says Nick Childs, a maritime expert from the London-based International Institute for Strategic Studies. The Chinese shipbuilding capacity is something like 200 times over all that of the United States. That commanding lead also applies to its Navy. Chinese Communist Party now has the world's largest, operating 234 warships compared to the U.S. Navy's 219. And they've been playing cat and mouse games over the last month in the East China Sea and some of the other areas there. Right? China, the international waters. China's rise has been fueled by the sea. World's second largest economy is home to 7 of the world's 10 busiest ports, which are critical to global supply routes. And its coastal cities are thriving because of trade. And it goes on, the article. Again, this is the BBC, not some kind of right-wing rag like I've been accused of using and all this other crap, Yeah, my right wing, absolutely. But if you look, I don't really use right wing sources for anything. I'm trying to get that camera adjusted here. The U.S. Navy, while it still has significant advantages, is seeing the gap and its capabilities with China narrow and is struggling to find a way of answering that, Mr. Childs says. Because the shipbuilding capacity has dwindled significantly over the past several decades. They're talking about the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants to fix this, and that's a very tall order, right? And then the article goes on with all of the stuff that China is doing here. So we're having issues with China, with the fentanyl, with everything else. War is bad, at least that's what we're told here. Now, my question is this, right? So, there's one thing with commercial ships, another thing with military ships. Right now, we, from all sources, we are holding the technological and logistical and strategic edge. However, got to look at this like from the point of view of a mosquito. A lot of mosquitoes attack a big body, you're going to have a problem eventually. And what are we going to do with all this escalation? Right? I've been told, well, they have a shallow water navy. Okay, great. Shallow water navy. That's not going to be forever. And they're building technology more and more and more. I just have a question. Do we have something to worry about? The other thing is this. The shipyard industry, which we're maritime, we do maritime training here. Shipyard industry, 20 to 30 years behind technology as far as OSHA is concerned, as far as safety is concerned. In every shipyard I've been in, years, if not decades, behind the rest of the industries out there. Why is that? Right? A lot of reasons why, I guess. The other issue, the corporate cultures, things of that nature. The other issues are this. Something like at the end of World War II, we had like 11 federal shipyards. Now we're down to like 3. A couple around the country here or there. Don't quote me on that. We got very few. Why is that? Why is it so much cheaper to build these ships everywhere else? With this, right? American flag. It's a big mess out there as far as commentary is concerned, right? With this. So this is from, I tell you, let's go to break, and then we're going to come back with some disaster preparedness information.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzo, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzo and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Polzel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
The safety war has begun. The risks are out there, lurking in every corner of the workplace, threatening our most valuable asset, our people. But we have a plan. Led by Jim Pozell, we are the last line of defense in this battle against danger and negligence. We will fight for safety, for compliance, for the right of every worker to return home unscathed. Join us on this journey through the unknown, where vigilance is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. This is Safety Wars, our fight, our duty, our mission. Heard regularly on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars, visit us at safetywars.com.
Yeah, we had to take a little break there. We have an extended break. You were listening to Electric Pulse. Some AI-inspired music. So let's talk about personal protective equipment here. So, well, Jim, what about the PPE? What's the issue? What's the issue? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, real simple. We've heard of this hierarchy of hazard, hierarchy of controls, right? Based on NIOSH, there's different, I'm doing share screen here for you people at home. There's different versions of this. They've been modified and everything else over the years. But it comes down to this. I don't even know. There's a long history behind this. You have 5 different levels of control here. You have elimination. So when you have a hazard, you eliminate it. Substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and the last thing is PPE, where you're going to be protecting the workers, so personal protective equipment here. So now, when we're in a disaster, right, and emergency, it could be emergency response, what have you, this pretty much goes out the window, this whole hierarchy of controls. You say, well, Jim, what do you mean it goes completely out the window? Not completely, but a lot of it goes out the window because, okay, hold on. A lot of it goes out the window because you don't know what you're getting involved in. If you have a, let's say you have a manufacturing work area, right? Okay, that's very easy to do. Elimination, relatively easy. Substitution, engineering controls, administrative, all of that, right? It's very easy to do that. And when you're involved in an emergency, you have to rely on that personal protective equipment out there. You may not be able to eliminate that hazard. Maybe the best you can eliminate. Substitute, meaning replacing a hazard with something less hazardous. Maybe, maybe not. Engineering controls, of course. You may have ventilation, right? When they're doing confined space entry, rescue, ventilation, perhaps, but but then administrative control, the fire service has certain rules, procedures, other emergency response organizations have that. And at home, now, unless you got a lot of planning involved, and what are your hazards and how can we eliminate them? Very difficult to do often. It's what you can control. Maybe you could build a flood resistant structure, a wind resistant structure, maybe a tornado shelter. Have procedures in that. In your house, maybe you can have a safe room, which is very common, I'm told, in Israel, where they actually have market houses with safe rooms, and it's part of their building code. With newer buildings that have safe rooms, is my understanding. You can do all this stuff. However, it comes down to PPE. So we're going to go into tomorrow. How do we choose the right PPE for the job, and what PPE may we need for the job with that? And so you're relying on PPE making the right choices. That's personal protective equipment. And as we found out during the recent pandemic, the government does not have enough PPE to go around, so we're relying on ourselves. We remember those homemade, and I'll call them what they are, masks, right? Do they work? I don't know. And then it gets down into, how do we define safety here, right? How do we define safety? Safety, zero accident, zero injury, zero illnesses, or is accident or is Safety, adding capacity and resilience. The safety in the disaster response field, we're adding capacity and your resilience. And I'll throw one more in there, your ability to learn new skills, especially on the fly with that. So, again, that's what we'll talk about there. Now, OSHA, right? By the way, we do give disaster response worker training here at Safety Wars, 845-269-5772, or contact us at jim@safetywars.com. Give us a call. All right, some news, some big news here. So we've been talking about migrant children missing in this country for about 300,000, where they were let into this country and now they disperse. They go into foster homes sometimes, alleged family members and friends some other times. All this stuff goes on, and nobody really knows where they went to. So here's a report. I have not seen it anywhere else. Fox is calling it an exclusive right here. And let's see if we can play the video. Of course, we have an ad.
What do we have going on here?
Well, I heard you guys talking about online threats, so I built an internet for it.
We have Spectrum, so our internet blocks threats automatically.
Oh.
But the internet is
Sorry about the commercial here.
So you keep a lookout.
Gonna turn this off for a second here.
If it's connected, it's
always
protected.
when you have things set
Spectrum
up
Internet
here.
with advanced Wi-Fi.
Well, records show thousands of migrant children were given to unvetted sponsors under the Biden administration, and officials say many of those kids lived in horrific conditions. Fox News has an exclusive look at the team working to find them. Brooke Taylor is live in Dallas. And Brooke, this is a remarkable story. For years, we have tried to get inside that Office for Refugee Resettlement, and they would not let us. You have this inside look.
Hi, Griff. Yeah, records show that tens of thousands of unaccompanied children who cross the border under the Biden administration are unaccounted for. I wanted to find out who is in charge of finding them and how they're doing this. So we got exclusive access to the team under the Department of Health and Human Services. As you mentioned, the first time that they're giving access to this, they're tasked with finding these children. It was one of President Trump's key campaign promises, and he appointed Border Czar Tom Homan to lead those efforts. The team operates out of what they call the War Room in Washington, D.C. It's made up of volunteers from agencies like the FBI and Homeland Security investigations. It is entirely data-driven, so they're focused on analyzing records and addresses to track down where these minors are ultimately ending up.
We're talking about debt bondage, where children are being made to work off debt, trafficking debt. We're talking about children that were brought into situations and then treated like sexual slaves, where children are in horrific environments, just environments that they should not be in, where the sponsor is a heroin dealer, and that child winds up dying of a heroin overdose.
More than 22,000 unaccompanied children have been found so far under this Trump administration. 27 of the minors were found dead, either murdered or by suicide, car accidents, or drug overdoses. And more than 400 of these unvetted sponsors have been arrested. Under the Biden administration, a record number of children began crossing the border. According to HHS, between 2021 to 2024, more than 470,000 unaccompanied children crossed into the U.S. Records show that many of these children were released to sponsors under very lax vetting policies.
And that was one of the first things that we really looked at, is to say, what was going on with this vetting, that they were allowing these kids to just leave these facilities within days and go back into the United States with little to no information.
What would you guys say to critics that say, this isn't about finding and saving the children, but it's about deporting them and getting those numbers up?
I would argue that we shouldn't be putting them in care here in the U.S. when they have families in their country of origin. And if we can prove that they're safer in the country that they're going back to, that is where they should be, with their parents.
And under the Trump administration, sponsors now are required to get DNA tested. They also have to get fingerprinted, go through background checks, and show proof of income that they could actually take care of the child, Griff.
All right, Brooke Taylor, live for us in Dallas. Great report.
All right, I know that's from Fox News, and that's courtesy of Fox News there. So this is being used under the fair use guidelines, right, under copyright law. So I'm going to comment on it because I'm going to comment on it. Thank God these folks are being found. I think it's unconscionable. And by the way, we do know that the Senate, some people in the Senate do listen to this program because during Senate confirmation hearings, some of our commentary ended up in Congress. Because I'm probably the only one talking about this consistently over the last 2 years. But we had and all these press releases. Oh, child labor law violation here. Child labor law and I'm like, where the hell's the child? Where are these kids? Are these 300,000 that are missing? Now it's 400,000? The report says. I don't know what to believe here because we know how good the government statistics are sometimes here, but I'm going to trust the AP and BBC saying 300,000 to 400,000 kids or more here. So we brought them into the country, didn't vet where they were going, put them into foster care or something else. We have dozens dead, 400 people arrested. And someone would say, well, that's only after, that's a pretty good number there. Really? You're a parent, you're putting your child on here, you're obviously in dire circumstances. Bringing them here thinking that they're going to be safer than where you came from, and then you end up with slavery. Whether it's sex slavery or actual slavery. And I'm going to add this in here. How many of them are having their organs harvested? I think that's a legitimate question here. And we're all okay. We're not supposed to say anything. What about their safety? This is a safety war. Right up here. In the upper whatever corner. I'm pointing to it right here. That's a safety war. We're always worried about here. Right up there. Safety war. Not only industrial safety, it's safety of our nation, safety of our children.
On the panel. Tyrus.
And it's all okay. Everybody's okay with it. I don't know. I'm not okay with it. Jim, talk about the OSHA news. Okay, let's go to the OSHA news. So, we had... All right, we'll talk more about PPE tomorrow.
Isn't that the problem?
There was no reason.
The Unified Agenda came out.
There was absolutely no.
Hold on, where is it?
Hey, where are you from? Nice, thanks for coming to the show.
Right? So this was on the 4th.
What are you doing? Like,
yeah.
U.S. Department of Labor unveils proposals. And again, I love that word, proposal. My favorite word, proposal. You can figure it out. To put American workers, right? Businesses first and release of semi-annual regulatory agenda. The Trump administration today, this is from the 4th, announced its unified agenda of regulatory and deregulatory actions, which provides the American people with a transparent look, right? Including nearly 150 proposals under the U.S. Department of Labor's jurisdiction. The agenda refers to President Trump's ongoing commitment to protect workers, support business growth, and ultimately put American workers, and business first. Eliminating red tape and crafting smart regulations that spur job creation will bring us even closer to reaching the golden age of the American worker. The Department of Labor is committed to helping President Trump and the entire administration implement its bold regulatory agenda, which focuses on flexibility, transparency, and common sense reform to ensure every hardworking family has a fair shot at achieving the American dream, said U.S. Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez de Raymer. So what are some of those things?
It's because he tried to do this thing.
Improving transparency into pharmacy benefit manager fee disclosure. Pursuant to President Trump's April 15th executive order lowering drug prices by once again putting Americans first, the department will look at ways to improve transparency around the direct and indirect compensation pharmacy benefit managers receive from employer-sponsored health plans. Transparency and coverage. The department will examine ways that can improve market transparency and pricing and cost-sharing information with consumers, for consumers.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was like the second worst thing that happened to them. They wore at a Coldplay concert.
Prudence and loyalty in selecting retirement plan investments and exercising shareholder rights. The department will consider to the extent to which fiduciaries may prioritize environmental, social, and governance factors in investment decisions. So we covered on this a couple years back. Essentially, the ESG focus, allegedly, don't know. I'm not a financial dude, right? We're prioritizing environmental, social, and governance (ESG) factors in investment decisions. In other words, not maximizing an investor's portfolio the best they can. Heat injury and illness prevention in outdoor and indoor work settings. The department is continuing to examine how to establish standards specifically related to heat-related illness and injury prevention.
2 weeks ago at my show,
Joint employer status under the Fair Labor Standards Act. The department will look at the circumstances at which a business can be held liable as a joint employer. Employer and independent contractor classification under the FLSA. The department will examine the circumstances under which workers should be classified as an employee or an independent contractor for the purpose of federal wage and hour requirements.
that's what they tell me.
Right, so a lot of roofing companies, for example, do this. Everyone, we're not going to comply with fall protection standards, so everybody's an independent contractor. Defining and delimiting, that's not the way it works, but guess what? That's the way in their mind it works. Defining and delimiting exemptions for executive administration, professional outside sales, and computer employees. The department will determine whether certain salaried employees are exempt from the minimum wage and overtime requirements. That, my opinion, Jimmy's opinion, that's probably should be the number one issue here if you're a safety professional. Maybe you want to contact Lori Chavez de Raymer, along with your congressperson and senator, to point this out if you're a safety professional. I tell you what, we get the Wuvno end of the stick here on this one.
Internet blocks threats automatically.
No.
But
Yeah, no, because what happens?
keep a lookout.
The specification, and if you're a young safety professional or inexperienced, you get wrapped up in
with advanced Wi-Fi.
the work cannot happen without a safety person being there. So then they put you on double shift and only think they're going to pay you for one shift, and then they wonder why they go through safety professionals like water, and they wonder why a lot of these safety professionals are pissed off all the time. I used to be one. I'll be honest with you. I get just basically getting screwed over with the
people say it's
with that. No, if you're a professional, they're relying on you as a professional. Guess what? Treat you as a professional.
Government over to people who
they don't
murderers on the streets of DC,
right?
Then don't vote.
And this is a whole number of careers. Yes, I'm doing the same basic job as I did, Jim, before the promotion, but now I'm on salaried. I'm still doing the same basic job, and guess what? I have plenty of overtime, unlike the when I was hourly wage. Illegal, you're probably misclassified at that point, but again, the average person does not know this. Adverse effect wage rate methodology for temporary employment of H-2A non-immigrants and non-range occupation. I don't know what that is, but basically prevailing wage calculations. Right? H-2A is temporary agricultural employment of foreign workers and non-immigrant status. Department proposes to rescind certain burdensome requirements adopted under the Biden administration, many of which are currently enjoined as unlawful for growers using the H-2A program for agricultural labor. So here is the complete
and has a strong
unified agenda at reg.info.gov, and it goes, if this were at all readable. Agency rule lists spring 2025. We had DOL going all the way down, DOL and OSHA.
But first, it was another sad, tragic, yet completely predictable.
That's the regulatory agenda. That's how you know what their priorities are.
8 people shot, 8 people dead. The city of Chicago has a major crime crisis, and while President Trump works to find solutions, the state's liberal politicians, they're so blinded by irrational...
U.S. Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez DeRemer issued the following statement after U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released its preliminary annual benchmark revision to non-farm payroll data, revealing that job growth was revised down 911,000 through the 12-month period ending in March 2025, one of the largest markdowns in decades. So this is follow-up on what we were talking about before. I suspected fraud of some sort here. How the hell could that happen? How the hell could that happen?
Or after, 9 o'clock,
something like this.
Down to the city from O'Hare.
Today, quote, today's massive downward revision gives the American people even more reason to doubt the integrity of data being published by the BLS. Considering these reports are the foundation of economic forecasts and major policy decisions, there is no room for such a significant and consistent amount of error. It's imperative for the data to remain accurate, impartial, and never altered for political gain. Leaders at the Bureau failed to improve their practices during the Biden administration, utilizing outdated methods that rendered a once reliable system completely ineffective and calling into question the motivation behind their inaction. The Trump administration is putting a stop to years of neglect. We are committed to finding solutions to these problems, including by modernizing to improve transparency and deliver more accurate and timely data for the American businesses and workers.
Even Mayor Muriel Bowser offered praise
with
for
that.
the president, saying,
so what happened? Okay, that's good that they're doing that, but what caused it? Do we know? Will we ever find out?
If you listen to Governor Pritzker and you listen to Chicago Mayor Brandon...
Here we have another one. Judge orders California roofing contracting owner to pay nearly $2 million in unpaid wages and damages after U.S. Labor Department investigation. A federal court has ordered a Northern California-based roofing contractor, always the roofing contractors, right, to pay $1.9+ million in back wages and damages to 158 workers after U.S. DOL investigation found the employer failed to pay required overtime rates to workers.
Well, it's an invasion.
In action by the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California in San Francisco to approve the consent judgment follows an investigation by the department's Wage and Hour Division that determined Northern California Nail Company Incorporated and its owner failed to pay 158 employees the required rate and time of 1.5 of their regular rate of pay for all hours worked over 40 hours in a week in violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act. The employer also failed to keep accurate time records,
defend against law enforcement? Does that sound like
resulting in FLSA record-keeping violations. Northern California Nail and its owners failed to pay overtime wages earned by hard-working roofers in violation of the federal law that protects their rights to be fully paid for their labor, explained Wage and Hour Division Assistant District Director Jenny Gomez in Sacramento, California. We are determined to recover wages owed to workers and will work diligently with the department's legal arm, the Office of Solicitor, to hold employers accountable for compliance. The Wage and Hour Division also assessed $56,314 in penalties to resolve willful violations. Right? And again, it's...
We have no crime.
I don't know.
It's in such great shape.
Very frustrating.
Now, the saddest part of all this, these deaths, these shootings...
U.S. Departments of Labor and Education take next steps in implementing their workforce partnership. Today, the U.S. Departments of Labor and Education announced they have taken historic steps to integrate the federal government's workforce portfolio through its innovative partnership announced earlier this year. Departments are launching an integrated state plan portal that will streamline federal workforce development programs and allow labor and education to administer core 4 Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act programs, including adult education and family literacy programs. Department of Education will transfer program funds and detailed staff to the Department of Labor to support the programs. This is all going to dissolve the Department of Education here with this. So, again, it goes into interagency agreement. Adult education CD grantees will now use the Labor Department's payment management system, thereby aligning grants management and payment systems across education, labor education, workforce programs.
But you are so blinded by rage and hatred of Donald Trump that you rather push your failed defund.
So that's what we got going on here. So, what else?
We know it doesn't work.
We got
in a press conference earlier today, Governor Pritzker.
Hold on, we're going to pause. We're going to pause this.
On dumb,
hang on.
Stupid and crazy. Mayor Johnson even trying to blame Reds is such an outrageous position to take. MSDNC.
It's almost, it's almost as if, and now this won't come off. All right. It's almost as if I'm at home rather than in a hotel room.
I actually think that J.B. Pritzker.
Oh, at least I know I'm needed.
I think you should
anyway.
pick up the phone, call the president, and say, you know and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard.
Okay, sorry about that, folks.
You can do that in D.C. You can't.
Again, a lot of stuff going on out there. Tomorrow, I promise we will get to EPA and HHS news, along with some other stuff on PPE. So, for Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. I will see you tomorrow.
Protect their lives. That's
Get out of here. So,
let me
let's see
be clear.
here.
Mayor Johnson, Governor Pritzker, they're failing the people of Chicago, and their lives are not safe and secure. Violent crime is out of control across the city and the state. Again, 8 people dead. They should be alive. 58 people shot.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Help is needed.
Someone just paid Trump a visit. Poland. And when you have guests, you got to break out.